Welcome back to the Growing Grace podcast. On today's episode, I just want to share with you all a revelation that God gave me. It was actually this morning as I was spending time with Him and listening to worship music. I was talking to Him and asking what He wanted me to share today, and He gave me this revelation, and He just kept giving me bits and pieces at a time, and it came together to something that I really wanted to share with you all. And so the first thing that God gave me is that I was listening to the song Fall Like Rain from Passion Music, and he just reminded me that we ask the Spirit of God to fall like rain. Often we see the Holy Spirit and the presence of God represented as rain. It's talked about in so many different worship songs, it's talked about in the Bible, and it's not a coincidence that rainwaters, that water, is what flooded the earth to cleanse it. Because when the Spirit of God falls on us, we too are cleansed. And so I want to read at least part of the story of Noah's Ark. And it is going to be, I'm going to start reading in Genesis chapter 6. It's going to be verses 5 through 8, which say, "The Lord observed the extent of human wickedness on the earth, and he saw that everything they thought or imagined was consistently and totally evil. So the Lord was sorry he had ever made them and put them on the earth. It broke his heart. And the Lord said, I will wipe this human race I have created from the face of the earth. Yes, I will destroy every living thing, all the people, the large animals, the small animals that scurry along the ground, and even the birds of the sky. I am sorry I ever made them." But Noah found favor with the Lord. And then if I jump ahead to chapter 7, verses 9 through 12, it says, "They entered the boat in pairs, male and female, just as God had commanded Noah. After 7 days, the waters of the flood came and covered the earth. When Noah was 600 years old, on the 17th day of the second month, all the underground waters erupted from the earth, and the rain fell in mighty torrents from the sky. The rain continued to fall for 40 days and 40 nights. And then if I skip ahead a couple verses, I'm going to read verse 17 and into chapter 8, verse 2, which say, For 40 days the floodwaters grew deeper, covering the ground and lifting the boat high above the earth. As the waters rose higher and higher above the ground, the boat floated safely on the surface. Finally, the water covered even the highest mountains on the earth, raising more than 22 feet above the highest peaks. All the living things on earth died: birds, domestic animals, wild animals, small animals that scurry along the ground, and all the people. Everything that breathed and lived on dry land died. God wiped out every living thing on the earth: people, livestock, small animals that scurry along the ground, and the birds of the sky. All were destroyed. The only people who survived were Noah and those with him in the boat, and the floodwaters covered the earth for 150 days. But God remembered Noah and all the wild animals and livestock with him in the boat. He sent a wind to blow across the earth, and the floodwaters began to recede. The underground waters stopped flowing, and the torrential rains from the sky were stopped." And so if we know the story of Noah's Ark, or if we take what I just read, we can see that God used those floodwaters to get rid of wickedness and evilness. That all the people on the earth were wicked, they were evil. And so God had waters come up from the ground. He had water pour out from the sky. He had rainwater come down to destroy all the wickedness that was on the earth. And we can, in this story, view Jesus as our metaphorical ark. That those who are in him will be saved from God's judgment, just like Noah and his family and those animals that were on the ark were saved from the flood. God didn't have to use water. He didn't have to save Noah and his family. God didn't have to do everything this way. God could have very easily spoken a word and all wickedness would be gone. But he used floodwater. He used rainwater. And that's what God was really speaking about to me today. That the Holy Spirit is so often compared to rainwater because he cleanses us. That when the Spirit comes down on us, he cleanses us just like rainwater cleansed the earth. That the Spirit is so often compared to rain because you can only get as much as you allow. If it's raining and you decide to run to shelter, you decide to run elsewhere, you decide to hide from it, to avoid getting rained on, you only get hit with as many raindrops as you allow. It's the same with the Holy Spirit. When the Holy Spirit decides to pour out, to rain, to fall down like rain, we can either choose to embrace it and accept it, or we can choose to run and hide from it. Now, if we continue to compare the Holy Spirit to rain, if we allowed ourselves to get poured on by rain physically falling down from the sky, by physical drops of water pouring out on us, our clothes get wet and soggy, and it can become heavy. It can be a little bit unpleasant and uncomfortable, but it's the same with the Holy Spirit once again. That sometimes when the Holy Spirit pours out on us, it can become a little heavy. It can become uncomfortable because the Holy Spirit asks us. He comes in and he asks us if it's okay for us to be cleansed. He asks us if we want to be cleansed. And once again, that's when we can either accept it or reject it. But if we accept it, things can get a little bit uncomfortable because the Holy Spirit is going to come in and cleanse you. And he's going to ask you to get outside of your comfort zone. He's going to ask you to get rid of things that you shouldn't be holding on to. He's going to ask you to get rid of people maybe that you shouldn't have in your life. He's going to ask you to stop bad habits that you might have. And all of those things are going to be uncomfortable. That there's not going to be just a one and done, just a quick, clean shower. It's not like getting in the shower. It's like a rainwater that you don't necessarily know when it's going to stop. You don't necessarily know when it's going to start. But you do know that it's going to cleanse you, and you do know that it's going to be worth the process. And so the last verse I want to read is Hosea chapter 6, verse 3, which says, "Let us know, let us pursue the knowledge of the Lord. His going forth is established as the morning. He will come to us like the rain, like the latter and former rain to the earth." In other places in the Bible, it talks about the Spirit being poured out on us. We can see that in Joel. We can see it happen at the day of Pentecost. But God's Spirit is poured out on us. That sometimes it starts to pour out and we don't necessarily know what it is. We don't understand where it came from. That you can't always predict when it's going to happen, just like we can't always predict the weather. You can't always predict when the Holy Spirit is going to decide to move and to work and make his presence known. But he's always there. He's always there with us. He's always there wanting to cleanse us and be there with us. And so this episode is going to be shorter than normal. But when God gives me words like this, I don't want to add my own words to it. I don't want to make up stuff or force things to happen. So I just wanted to share it with you guys. And my challenge for you all this week is to reflect on that, to reflect on how the Holy Spirit is the cleansing rain in your life. Are you allowing him to fall on you like rain? Or when you sense him coming, you run and you flee in the other direction and you hide? So thank you all so much for watching this episode, and I will see you all next week. Bye!